Record on. Yay, we're recording. Okay.
Leave meeting.
And now we're going to go live on Facebook. Very exciting. So everybody has to smile. I have to do.
You do a thing.
Live from Summit, New Jersey.
Page, begin, ready? I'm clicking the button.
All right, do it.
Da, 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 da. This meeting is being live streamed.
This meeting is being live streamed. Hello,
By
everybody.
Stevens.
Welcome to Beacon's Thursday, December 30th live stream extravaganza. I'm Reverend Emily here with Jennifer Scarter McCann, who is on my screen on top. I'm in the middle. And then on the bottom, for me at least, Michael Zarek is there with the most amazing jacket, tie.
Really is.
We don't mess around, people. We don't mess around. So tonight we are counting up the best moments of 2021. Believe it or not, 2021 is now, as of tomorrow night, going to be done. Dun, dun, dun. And so Jennifer and Michael are going to be writing to you in the chat and chatting with you, lifting up the things that you want to share with all of us. But let's just go, it's been such a year. And especially since we're ending this year in such a fashion. And do one of you have the Facebook thing on? Because I can hear it.
That was me.
Okay.
Live television.
I think
Sorry.
I got it quiet, so I think we're good.
It's like on, when you go on radio and they're like, hey, can you turn your radio down?
Especially when there's a delay.
There is a delay.
Emily put a 7-second delay for Jennifer and I. Yes.
So do you all remember where you were when 2021 came about? Were you at home?
Yeah. I mean,
were we all at home?
Yeah.
Weren't we all at home?
We were all at home. Good. What do you remember about 2021 coming? Like I remember we were so happy that 2020 was done.
Yeah. We were ecstatic, like amazing, different things were going to happen in 2021.
Different things were going to happen. Michael, what about you?
Yeah, we got through 2020 and it can't be worse. And yeah. And
it's not worse.
No,
Just more.
Just more. That's a fairly good ambiguous description of 2021.
Do you think that we would have a different opinion if Omicron hadn't hit the New York City area
yeah, absolutely.
so hard in the last week and a half?
Yeah.
I think we would be much more positive.
Yeah, if this was a month ago, we'd be talking. Yeah, I agree.
If we had all been able to have the Christmases and New Year's that we have planned. Yeah.
But no.
Yeah. So just so everybody's aware, we're all Beacon is in Summit, New Jersey. So we're all in towns around Summit, New Jersey, which is a suburb of New York City. A lot of our congregation travels into New York City regularly. And literally on December 13th, I talked to a public health official because we were revising our COVID protocols. And I talked to someone, a public health official, and she said, no, you can do in-person services indefinitely. There's not going to be a time when you will go all virtual again. And I was like, well, look at this new phase. Indefinitely, literally eating my words 5 days later. Just eating them.
I do not think that word means what you think it means. Yeah.
I think you might be right.
I said, well, what do the COVID cases have to be in order for us to go back to virtual? And she was like, it's not going to happen. I would call you. And I was like, I mean, I feel like I actually made this happen, just to say. I do feel responsible for Omicron.
You can't personally be responsible for Omicron.
Just telling you, that's how my mind works.
By the time you feel personally responsible, it turns out it was already here. So you're not personally responsible.
It's true. I know that.
The Emily strain, yes.
I know. It does feel that way, though. I was like, oh man, leadership fail. So, okay, just going back to January 2021, first, and then we'll start counting up. But the thing I want us to remember is vaccinations weren't really happening, right? We were on the cusp of starting, like the vaccine was on the forefront, right? And I remember over the holiday last year going for a walk with my mom outside, and like thinking through like what is possible for this year. We were trying to like time out when was we thought maybe my husband wouldn't get vaccinated until September, so all the vaccinations moved up. I mean, that's what I remember. And I wonder for you too, I mean, I think I was fully vaccinated by the end of April. So like when were you or your bubble vaccinated? Do you remember day?
It was March, because I think I timed exactly with Reverend Robin, because my second one was April 15th, with the historic tax day. These days it gets extended, but it was March and April, and it was in Hoboken because that's where my school is right now. And then my booster was about a month ago.
Yeah. Jen, what about you?
So my husband as a healthcare provider went pretty early in the vaccination rounds, which had its own whole level of terrifying at the time. But and then I was a caregiver for someone who who was immune compromised. So I also was done by late February, which was, I mean, it was fairly early in the process.
Well, and we all have older kids, so our kids were able to get vaccinated early. Whereas like my brother, who's 10 years younger than I am, like still is waiting for his kids, right? So then, for so many people, it was like, when will my elders or the people who are immune compromised get it? When will I be able to get it? When will my kids be able to get it? Like, so that's all happened in the course of this year. And I guess I wondered, what was one thing you guys did post-vaccine, like, for yourself that you remember?
I have a story.
Yeah.
I'll tell it briefly. So, I mean, mostly we planned a vacation, like we started thinking about possibilities, right? But one of the first things I did was with Tuli Patel, and she and I ate in a restaurant together.
Oh, I remember.
We were two of the earlier vaccinated, and we ate inside. We had not eaten in a restaurant, in a while. And it was funny because we knew each other were safe, and it was just the two of us. And we picked a restaurant like on a weekday at a weird lunchtime, and we wanted no one else to be in the restaurant. And while we were eating, and we kept like hiding our faces as we would chew, right? That's what you had to do. While we were eating, the waiter attempted to seat someone at a table like maybe 10 feet away from us. And apparently we both gave him immediate death glares because the guy just like backed away and was like, we'll go somewhere else.
Put those people in another place.
That's right.
Michael, what about you?
I don't have a distinct story like that, but
I
remember, so my second vaccine was again in April. My wife is a healthcare provider, had it already. Her shot was probably in March. But I remember in August going on our family, every year we try to do a family week where we go somewhere. We've gone to Tahoe, we've gone to Palm Springs. And last year we did Zoom. So Zoom was our big family vacation with my brother-in-law from California and my nephew from California. So this year they didn't join us, but we did do a week in Eastern Pennsylvania, in the Poconos, so to
Mhm.
speak. So, at that point, cases were way down. We were all double vaccinated.
Yeah.
So it was different. And again, a lot of that was out. We went to Bushkill Falls, the Niagara of the Poconos.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
we were
Been there. Mhm.
outside, and so it was different. There was a certain sense of, oh, it's okay, you're safe.
Yeah.
And I think I would tell you, I felt that pretty much until we had, for another organization, I hosted a gala that we did on December 1st. December
Yeah.
1st, we were in a catering hall with 120 people.
Right.
Yes, we encouraged masking there, but when you're eating at a catering hall, that's, it was very different. And it seems like a world ago, and it was 29 days ago. And it seems like
Yeah.
an
Yeah.
entirely different world.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I keep talking to friends and family throughout the country, and I'm like, it's coming. I just want you to know your world's going to be rocked. Right? You're going to have it's going to be coming at you, from all these different
Yeah.
people. They're all of a sudden, people that were uber careful are oh, nope, got COVID. Nope, now I've got COVID. Just in an hour, I got 5 phone calls. So
I keep trying to make the same first work trip that keeps getting messed up. It's now scheduled for January 18th. And my sister-in-law was like, there's no way that's happening. She was like, you got refundable tickets, right? That's not happening.
yeah,
It's coming. I was like, I keep telling them it's on the way.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we do have some people writing in the chat, went to the grocery store for the first time of year, or
Yes.
Asbury Park, or, had lunch on the boardwalk, things like this. So we'd love to hear what were some of the first things that other people did.
So Reverend Emily, I don't know if you noticed, but Robin Tanner has exonerated you entirely because
I did.
because she's been told it's her fault personally. So just saying. Think you're good.
See, I think this is just parents everywhere. We're just so used to it being our fault.
That's right.
Yes. My grandmother always said mothers are a sorry lot. So, okay. So just moving on a little bit from what this year, just to remember what this year was like. And sorry, my family is watching The Matrix right now. It got very loud all of a sudden. I don't think you all can hear it, but it's just gotten very loud in my background. There's going to be immense shooting in a second. But so tonight, we are going to be counting up over the course of now, 28 minutes, or sorry, can't do math, 18 minutes. Jennifer, Michael, and I are going to be counting up the top 10 moments of Beacon's year, because of course, tomorrow night, we as a world will be counting down the year. And specifically, we're going to be counting up the ways that we were a beacon of hope and connection, inspiration and justice. And of course, the ways in which we created room to breathe, which of course, in this COVID time is essential. And I have to tell you that as we were looking through the sort of top 10, this was no easy task, because it is crazy how much we got done in a year. And not just to get stuff done, but just just what came at us and what we had to be nimble with. So we know that we had to exclude things. So that's why we want to hear from you in the chat. What were some of your favorite moments at Beacon? And also because we, of course, weren't at everything. There are going to be moments that you were a part of that we weren't, and we want to hear about them. So please make sure to use the chat. We're going to be lifting some of those up. The other thing that we are doing tonight in the next over the next half hour is that we're going to be inviting people to contribute to Beacon's mission. Our goal is to reach the end of our $25,000 goal. This is a goal that we have had since Giving Tuesday on November 30th. And the end is in sight. We are $5,000 away from reaching that goal. People have been tremendous. $5,000. That's all we need to raise. And we need to do so by midnight tomorrow, but it would be great if we could celebrate tomorrow morning with reaching that goal. So Michael, do you have the link? Can you put it in the chat, or would you like me to do so?
If you could do so, because I have it here. Sorry.
I got it. So it's the PayPal link is in the chat. You can help us get there. And just to say, if you can add 3% to your contribution to help with the PayPal credit card fees, gotta hate them. And the other exciting thing is that we have a few gifts that we are going to give to certain individuals tonight. So we have a joke about this. This is a chalice. It's a little light, and actually, that's what that thing in my background is. It is this light. Michael thinks this is the Eye of Sauron, everybody, just so you know. So you can either think of it as a chalice or the Eye of Sauron. One
chalice to rule them all.
To rule them all. But the a first time Beacon contributor, if you're a first time Beacon contributor, you'll get the chalice. If you're the first person to share what Beacon has meant to you in the chat, you will get this chalice. Jen and Michael are watching. If you are our first youth alumni contributor, so meaning that you're a youth alumni and this is your first time contributing, you will get a chalice. And the giver who helps us cross the 25,000 yard line gets the Eye of Sauron. All right.
Chalice one, not the actual Eye of Sauron.
That's when the eye falls. Goodness comes over. All
For
right.
Frodo. Operators are standing by. Please,
Operators are standing by.
We're
Feel
standing
free
by.
to
We
make a
may have a
donation.
small problem. We've been informed in the chat that other people have been bribed with chocolate babka. So, I mean, I'm saying the chalice is pretty awesome, but chocolate babka, maybe we need to work on getting that.
Or a big salad. What is this, a Seinfeld episode?
I just want to say this wasn't in the top 10, but you know, we did give away a brain cake at Halloween. So come
It
on
was
now.
an awesome cake.
Brain
Very
cake.
brain-like.
So, all right. Number one, in terms of counting up the top 10 moments of 2021, this is centered around being a beacon of hope. And that was really that throughout everything that happened this year, Beacon really helped people make meaning of those ups and downs. Like it was just coming at us all year long. And one of the primary ways that we did that was through community groups. And I know that like we have our formal community groups. These are groups of 8 to 10 people that continued to meet. Most of these groups were starting to meet when the pandemic hit, that they started to meet weekly. They met virtually, they met in person in the sanctuary, they met in people's homes and backyards. And each month they have questions based on the theme of the month. This month it's opening to joy. Next month it's living with intention. And it really gave people some deeper questions to go deeper on what the heck is happening? And am I in grief? Are there things that I can look forward to? Is there joy in this moment at all? So I have to we wanted to really lift up our community groups. And then we also wanted to lift up the informal groups that happened. You know, Jen, I know that you've been a part of a parents group off and on that has been meeting like Sunday nights with Reverend Robin on the front porch. You met with like every Thursday night at 9 p.m. at the beginning of the year.
Yes, for more than a year, exactly this time. It was a great
Everybody
time.
bought their port or something, but like, I just heard so many tales. Do you have a small story you want to share? Or is it like completely confidential?
So, I mean, they're supposed to be. So I will keep them confidential. But what I will point out is that we did in a different world ago, approximately 5 weeks ago, met with that group of the 9 p.m. Thursday group in person. Even though I gave them work, they met in person. And one of the parents, as an anecdote, was like explaining to someone she was going out to dinner, right, with people. And they're like, oh, where are these people? And she was like, oh, I met them, they're my Zoom group. And they were like, wait a minute, you made friends during the pandemic? And she was like, that's right. We made friends during the pandemic.
That's right.
Because it helped us survive. And it was fantastic.
That's right. We had to find new ways of connecting with one another. And that really gave us hope. Michael, do you have anything that you want to add? You don't have to. I'm just.
Well, and I know you just used a word that you're going to go into the second clue. So you've done a spoiler alert.
Go ahead.
One of the things that actually early on with the pandemic, I signed up, I did the Zoom subscription, so I have the pro, whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah.
And all of a sudden we did a couple, my fraternity from the 1980s. So we got together on Zoom and we're all reminiscing from 1986. We haven't seen each other in 30 something, 35 years. We could have been doing this all along,
Right.
but because of the pandemic, we're like, oh, Zoom, we can do this. So we had one fraternity brother from India and one from Ecuador and one from California and one from Texas. So we were doing things that we could have done anyway, but I think the pandemic, one, drove us to want to touch base, but also was, oh yeah, this is a way to communicate with people. So Zoom
Yeah.
or Google Meet or whatever it is, it was just a great opportunity that was always there, but we didn't realize it until the pandemic hit.
That's right. And I know for so many of us, like there's been some groups that I know have, weathered people through great loss, to be honest. I mean, to touch base once a week and say like, so how are your parents doing now? Right. How is your kid doing now? How, that sort of like weekly touch point with folks, just to know that like, you're not going through it alone and you can hear in another person the same struggle or a similar struggle. So sorry, I'm laughing at some of the comments as well. And I just, I wanted to take a moment because if you're interested in a community group, I'm going to put the registration because there's a whole new slew of community groups that are starting up in January. There you go. If you'd like to sign up for a community group, I cannot recommend them enough. The other thing that I wanted to lift up in terms of making meaning is we got in touch because of the pandemic. We got in touch with a lot of our youth alumni. In the course of my time at Beacon and Tuli's time at Beacon, we have graduated 250 youth from our congregation. And we have been in touch with them, over the course of many years, but really in this year, reaching out and seeing how they're doing. Some of them came and worked for us. Some of them asked us like, hey, can we volunteer? They've been showing up at virtual services. So one of the things they did was Waldenathon, which is crazy, reading Walden from start to finish. And I'm just going to put it in the chat because if you have 5.5 hours in which you'd like to hear our youth alumni make meaning of Henry David Thoreau's Walden, you are more than happy to watch that. And I guess what I would say is what was really powerful about that outside of Walden was hearing them talk, because now for a lot of them, it's been 5, it's been 10, it's been 15 years since they graduated. And to hear the impact of what Beacon has meant to them. And so I lift that up as a way of helping them make meaning.
Yeah. I'm so glad that you're mentioning that one. And that's one of your favorite, because I loved it. I know a few of us thought we'd just pop in for a minute. And I swear I listened to the entire thing.
No.
It was so much fun. It was fun. It was fun.
It was ridiculous. So then moving on to number 2, which is connection, and specifically being a beacon of connection. And I love this one. It was we shared our love of cooking, right? So there was this whole thing in the pandemic about like people started cooking at home. But I just have to tell you that Nisa Iwama, our director of music ministry, started this thing called Barn. Help me figure out, remind me what this means. Beacon Arts Room at noon. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So it happened over Facebook, or it happened over Zoom. And one of the people she interviewed was a member of our congregation, Chef Danny DiGiacomo Singh. I tried to pull up the video, but it's not out there. It is actually, I know it is private, so I couldn't share it with you all. But in the course of her conversation with him, and they were talking about Summit, he was making one meal during the time of the Zoom conversation that everybody was watching, and he was telling these stories about like the recipes that really meant a lot to him. And I think Nisa like offhandedly said, that sounds like a great cookbook. At which point somebody heard and said, we should make a cookbook. And that, folks, is what we did. And Jen was a part of that team that made the cookbook. And I have one right here. Da, da, da. all of my family members got a cookbook.
Mine
My,
too.
they got a cookbook for Christmas. There, you can still get a cookbook, people.
I do have a few.
There are more to get, but I loved the genesis of that, and not only that, but then a collaboration that happened with the cookbook was with Neighborhood Beacon. So again, something that we started in the pandemic was this cooperation between our congregation working with local agencies and local restaurants, buying gift certificates to local restaurants to support our restaurants, and then using those gift cards and giving them to agencies that are working in our own community. So in Long Hill Township, in Summit, in Maplewood, South Orange, like all the different places. So they, Neighborhood Beacon started that, but one of the things they did this year was this great event called Cooking for a Cause. And again, I'm going to put it in the chat. They selected recipes out of the Beacon cookbook and showed you how to make them. And you can actually purchase for a certain amount of money, I think it's 25 bucks, you can purchase them showing you how to make certain recipes. You come in, they show you how to do it, and then all of the money goes to Neighborhood Beacon and supporting both restaurants and families who really need some love and hope in this time. And one of the stories that I love about that was that there was a woman who was a single mom who was having a really hard time, and and when you're having a hard time financially and it's hard enough to buy groceries, you're not going to go out to eat. And so one of the things that she loved about it was that on I think it was her daughter's birthday, it was some celebration, they were able to go out to eat because they had received a gift card to a local restaurant. So just made, these are kind of the ripples. You have no idea what's happening, but these are kind of the ripples of connection from our congregation. I mean, when people were buying gift cards from local restaurants, they said it was the best day because they'd go to the restaurants and the restaurant owners would just they'd give them a fruit salad and they're like, I don't need your fruit, but everybody was just so joyful in that moment. All right, that's number 2. Anything in the chat that we need to lift up? April?
I think we're up to date.
Yeah.
We're up to date. All right.
A few comments about the tiara. They're loving it.
Jen, do you want to say where you got that tiara?
Well, I got this tiara many years ago and just found it today while cleaning things out at a house that I have to clean out. So there we are. And unfortunately, I found it just late this evening because Michael, if I have 2, I really was like this close to being like, I could drop one off to somebody else. Who needs the Happy New Year jar. This close.
All right, so number 3, speaking of tiaras, number 3 was an incredible moment. This year, our Black Lives Matter Coalition celebrated its 5th anniversary. This is a partnership between our congregation and Fountain Baptist. 5 years ago, we raised our Black Lives Matter banners. This year, Christ Church, also in Summit, joined us, and we held a virtual candidates forum. This was specifically in the city of Summit. So we had all of the candidates from all the parties join us for a candidates forum. We had never done something like this before. It took several months of work. We had to work with the candidates to make sure that it was a good night for them. It got moved back. We changed dates a couple of times. We had an incredible group of volunteers who were asking the candidates questions. And I'm actually going to post it in the chat because in case you didn't see it. And Michael, I almost called you Stephanie. Jennifer, did you watch any part of it? Do you remember any part of it?
Did watch a little bit, not being able to vote in Summit. I watched more for English sake than anything else. But it was great. Actually, it was wonderful. I've done some local level political work in other towns, and I was very, very impressed with the way it was handled. And it's one of the many ways that Beacon has managed to be extremely nimble and figure out how to do totally new things during the past year. I mean, just really, it was very impressive.
I think one of the best moments, and this is not in serious. So this is not serious at all, but talking about being nimble, Robin and I were running the tech set. You don't see us at all, except that I had to figure out how to get a timer to go off. Like, so I had to add an app to my Zoom in order to make the timer happen, which to this day, the timer shows up every time I'm on a Zoom call. But Reverend Robin had the best bit.
Helpful.
She had to, like, I can't even figure out how she did this. Robin, you'll have to put it in the chat. She like had to make the questions on her screen, but black out everything so that the questions would show up. People, if you have a better way of knowing how to do that, please let us know.
It didn't look weird at all when you were watching it.
It didn't, but it was the weirdest thing to figure out. And she had to be like not talking, anyway, just hilarious. But the really meaningful moment was that when we raised the banners 5 years ago, we got a lot of heat. A lot of people in the city really, Robin saying she had to screen share and make the questions her background. Yes, Robin, that was so impressive. So we got a lot of heat for, for the term Black Lives Matter. Like, can't you just say something different? And we held our ground. And what the amazing shift that we witnessed that night on the virtual candidates forum was, one of the questions was, do you believe Black Lives Matter? And all of the candidates said yes. All of the candidates. I mean, that is a huge shift from 5 years ago. So yeah. that was a moment of absolute justice making. Moving on to number 4. We're almost there. Oh, we're already at 9:30. I told you I talked too much. In terms of inspiration, I wanted to talk about Tuli and Jermaine's incredible stories in our worship services. You just have to understand that, like, every Sunday they run a school, right? For all grades, right? They have teachers, like, they run a school, and then they also create these amazing stories that we get to, as Reverend Robin and I get to, they give us these stories, and then we get to pivot from in the larger sermon. And the two things I just wanted to lift up were Tuli's Maya stories. Tuli invented this character Maya and her 2 moms, who we watch. We've been watching her journey through the pandemic. And then Jermaine really does these amazing, especially around historical events, has a way of telling us what's happening, what this moment means, or telling a story and giving us visuals to it. And the one that I was able to find, I couldn't find Maya in time, but I just recently, Jermaine did an adaptation of the story Al Moon that was absolutely gorgeous, and I wanted to put it in the chat for everybody. It was the most beautiful thing, and it was so lovely to be able to watch that story. That was the day when Omicron hit us, and we had all of these wonderful outdoor, indoor plans. And Jermaine's story was kind of like, oh, it's so beautiful. So finally, our fifth thing, best moment, was around having room to breathe. And specifically, we did worship services every way we could do worship services in order to make sure that they happened for folks. We started off the year in virtual. By August 1st, we were trying for indoor services. We got to indoor services for about a month and maybe a month and a half, at which point the Delta variant hit. And then we pivoted to outdoor services at our new property. And then, of course, we moved, and while also maintaining virtual the whole time, and then pivoting back to virtual. And so I just want to say, like, no matter where people were, and this was really something that we continued, Robin and Tuli and I continue to hold, that people need, we've been talking about people's health, but their mental health, they need Beacon. They need their community, they need inspiration, they need room to breathe. And so these virtual indoor, outdoor services were a place that we wanted to hold people. And so even if it was just 3 of us as we broadcast it out, even if it was from our homes and you all are coming into our homes all the time, even if we had to set up a tent with 100 volunteers, we were going to try to deliver as best we could. So that is number 5. I also feel like that's here at the middle of it. It feels like a partridge in a pear tree, 5 golden rings. That's where we are. That's where we are.
But all I can think of from that is that because I found it the other day doing some cleaning during Christmas break, was the instructions for ushers for was, okay, usher number 11 will be on the left wing on the right side of Waldron Avenue to usher those people after they're verified by usher number 17. It was just a fascinating what we were trying to do to make sure we did it right. And I think
to
you
try
guys
to
have
keep
done
people safe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Reverend Robin created a most amazing chart. Like it was like August 1st, you came to, it was like you're going to dinner.
I know, but
Right.
it was fantastic. I ushered one of those first ones, and what was hilarious was the look of like deer in the headlights as people would walk in, and there were everyone was trained to be like, nope, you're gonna go here and you're gonna see that usher and you're gonna go there. And we just sort of walked them through one step at a time. You didn't have to think about how overwhelming it was to be facing people again.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So moving on to number 6, because I know we're a little bit behind time. Thank you everybody for staying in, but moving on to number 6. And by the way, have we gotten our first What Beacon Means to Me?
We haven't gotten a What Beacon Means to Me. We are getting some comments about people's highlights from the year, some of which are spoilers for later items. So I'm going to keep 1 or 2 of them.
Okay.
But Sarah Edvelson was pointing out that singing in person with actual people, which was
person with actual people.
We could be outside. Yeah.
That's really true.
Yes.
And that was why we wanted outdoor services so badly, so that we could sing in person, because we can't, like, our sanctuary is a chapel.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sarah. That's why that pivot to outdoor was so important.
Yeah.
And on Christmas Eve. Woo.
Right?
I know.
Highlight of my Christmas. So
we just couldn't imagine doing Christmas Eve without the carols. So we had to figure out a way to do that.
Yeah.
So number 6 is hope. Again, we're back to hope and our partnerships to support our neighbors and our larger community. So there's a few things here. A lot of you know about them, but our partnerships with the Summit Interfaith Council, with Bridges Outreach, with Grace, these were things that were instrumental, ways that we could come together and really feel like we were doing something as a part of the community. So we created a COVID-19 relief fund for local immigrant families. We were seeing that that citizens were getting help from the government, but for undocumented individuals and families, they weren't getting the support, and they were people who had lost their jobs, and they just were ineligible for the federal emergency stimulus. So through, local people making donations, the Summit Interfaith Council was able to provide relief for our neighbors, and that was something that was tremendous. Summit Warm Hearts last winter, it was tremendously cold. And we provided not only a warming shelter, but we also provided overnight shelter for 3 solid months, starting in December and moving right through until the end of March. And then after winter was over, we decided that these were relationships that meant a lot to us, and we wanted to make sure that we were touching base with people regularly. So Summit Warm Hearts went year-round, that every Tuesday people could come touch base with us, get social services that they might need, reconnect with folks. And then, of course, November 15th, we opened Summit Warm Hearts, and people have been coming daily since then. So these partnerships, we were at the Interfaith Council a few weeks ago, and these partnerships are doing not only providing what's typically called charity, but also trying to really push local and federal government to work in partnership so that there are real safety nets in place for all of us. And that's the sort of justice that we're looking for. So moving on to number 7, is that one of the hardest things that I heard people talking about is that they weren't able to see fellow members. You know, we've lived in a world in which every Sunday people showed up and you got to see people, you got to connect, you got to say hello, you got to see them at least, you know, if you were up in the balcony, you got to see them across the way, but people weren't seeing one another. And so one of our youth alumni, who Emily Bloomfield, started volunteering for us and then said, hey, I'd love to work your social media, and came up with this idea of Humans of Beacon. And so this was one of the ways that people were able to see one another across the time. And so there's just some tremendous stories here. I'm going to put it in the chat. And often people shared things in the Humans of Beacon stories that I had no idea about, ways that they came to Beacon, things that they were involved in that I had no idea they were involved in. So I wanted to make sure that people got a chance to look at that, and just to thank Emily Bloomfield for her amazing work in launching that. Moving on to number 8, we're almost there, people.
Getting there.
I wanted, and I think Laura Kramer probably mentioned this in the chat. Is that right, Jen? Have you? So just wanted.
Yes, she did.
This was a part of the services auction, which was in 2020, but different members, along with Misa Iwama, offered a spring cabaret, and it was unbelievable. And I have to say that this happened in, I want to say it was March, but it was it feels like it was in March.
It felt like March. It could have been last week, but I'm pretty sure it was March.
I always get March and May kind of like they just stick in my mind. It was a spring cabaret, and there was so much. I mean, people did, they made incredible musical videos together. People brought works of art, and I don't have the video. You know, we only showed it twice. It's not out there on the internet. But just to say that was an amazing moment. But I do have 2 things that I can share with you, which is I'm just so thankful for Misa and our choir members. Yeah. Because there are, just in the last 2 months, 2 amazing videos that they have created as anthems. And hilariously, whenever I'm watching the videos of them singing, first of all, lots of times I haven't been able to sing these songs that mean so much to me. But the other thing that I noticed is I'm like, oh, Janice got a haircut. Oh, she looks so good. Oh, you know, oh, so-and-so, you know, it's all about their haircut. I'm like, oh, look. Anyway, Janice did just get a haircut. It looks great. So many people did. So especially, please do watch It Came Upon a Midnight Clear and Dona Nobi's Fashion. It is so gorgeous. And Jen, your son had a big role in this.
He did. He did not sing again.
So what did he do?
He played clarinet. And Elise Henricks also played flute, and she sang, and they did a great job. I love the work Misa puts into those videos. It's amazing. And I'm very thankful for the choir and people willing to put themselves on a video that will be played over and over and over again. Not my strong suit.
I know, that is one of the things that you just have to think oh, this is out there. And now it's out there forever.
It's out there. And sometimes it comes back, right? Because in a previous year's virtual Christmas pageant, my son sang We Three Kings, and it got reused this year, and he was, more like informed, not asked, informed that singing would be reused. And I was like, well, it's out there now. So they're just gonna.
Yeah, it's a good lesson as a teenager. That's a good lesson. Yeah, I'm surprised
does he get royalty checks?
I know.
No, but Robin Tanner is trying to get a union to have a marching band arm. She's working on this. It's one of the less important, but very, very interested, self-interested by certain teenagers at Beacon. Let's just put it that way.
Just to say that Scott Schnipper has asked, he doesn't want to interrupt the conversation, but did he miss the blooper reel?
He is
And just to
looking
say,
for the blooper reel.
so Scott, you haven't missed the bloopers. The bloopers are for the end. Yeah, the bloopers are for the end.
We're only
You
doing
know.
bloopers when we raise the 5,000. So please,
Oh, then
Emily has another 10. The list is actually
like it.
20 deep.
I like it.
So if we get to
And we are
5,000,
starting.
we stop at 10.
We're starting to get some great donations. Thanks to everybody for making your donations to PayPal. You can also send a check in, and I just want to give a shout out to some of our guest musicians as well, since we're talking about the spring cabaret and the choir videos. John O'Neill has created music that now starts all Beacon services for me. Vicky Carter is someone that I have loved seeing in the in-person services. Rosina Hill Jackson, Jason Jackson, Jackie Jones. I mean, singing songs that I'm just missing. And then I just wanted to show, and I'm going to put two in here, Rosina Hill and Jason Jackson's amazing YouTube channel, which everybody should know. But also, we've had members doing tremendous, like Jen's child, teenager, but also Dennis and Aaron Mannion. And I put the whole service in, but Teach Your Children Well, they just sat down and sang this song. It brought tears to my eyes. So there's so many people, and please, lift up other people, other members who've been singing that you have loved in the chat, but those were just a few.
It's true. And, we're getting lots of people mentioning it, and you're absolutely right. The tears, I mean, like so many times last year, the videos we could put together, and my son would be like, please stop watching it. Because I would just rewatch it all week and I'd just crying.
Oh.
So then just to say, speaking of videos, and I'm going to have to screen share for a minute. We do have, people did put pictures of what Beacon means to me, and Mary Supley, our new communications consultant, did, sorry, I'm just pulling it up, did create a little bit of a video. It doesn't have any sound, but just some of the images of, oh, it does have music. I had no idea.
We can't hear it though, but we're appreciating you dancing to it.
If Emily hears it,
That's right.
there is music.
Just dance, but nobody knows.
Oh my gosh.
Just a few of that wasn't the blooper reel either, Scott. So just so you know, it's coming, it's coming.
Still not the blooper reel.
So number 9 is being a beacon for justice. So voter rights, I swear to you, our members have done so much for voter rights. I mean, in terms of get out the vote, people versus fossil fuels. Kathleen Grant wrote to Reverend Robin and me and said, we need to get on this. And she and I traveled down on a Sunday. Robin joined us on the Monday. An amazing event, and one that continues to play out. And then, of course, the Build Back Better campaign with the Poor People's Campaign. Reverend Robin has been so much a part of this. But these are things that are going to continue into 2022 that we are, I mean, voter rights is not going away. People versus fossil fuels isn't going away, and Build Back Better is something that we are going to be pushing like mad in 2022. And then number 10, folks, the most amazing thing, not the most amazing thing, there's no order of this, but it was crazy amazing that this happened. In terms of room to breathe, Beacon bought a property. So I just have to say that this was like unbelievable that in Reverend Robin was on sabbatical at the time when somebody wrote to me and said, the American Red Cross building is up for sale. You should look at it. I passed it on to the board. The board takes a look at it, and it was an opportunity we could not pass up. And it has been a game changer for COVID, because there have been so many times when we would just have to be virtual the whole time. If we did not have this property has allowed us to have services. It's allowed us to have trunk or treat. It's allowed us, we were about to have an outdoor labyrinth and
an outdoor Christmas pageant.
An outdoor Christmas pageant that was amazing. So, I mean, we're still in discernment around this property and what's going to happen on this property. But as far as I'm concerned, it's already allowed us to be more of who Beacon is, and seriously given us room to breathe. And so on that note, I have some bloopers that I would like to show you, and I will make sure, Robin, I hope this is okay. Here we go. So just to say, just so everybody understands what it was like last week, or the week before, Robin Blesser is in DC, Build Back Better campaign, comes back, suddenly has no symptoms, but suddenly we have regular PCR tests, gets COVID, and we have to change like just everything. And so bless her, she's in a basement. Tuli has just come back. She's just lost somebody dear to her. I'm in my house, and we have to record things for the Christmas Eve virtual service. So this is a few of the things. This is 3 takes of the same. I think it was our chalice lighting and our.
Robin's emojis are getting increasingly nervous on the chat. I'm just letting you know.
Robin just laughed. Tuli and I, Robin just laughs, and Tuli and I just, move. Okay, I'm gonna share my sound because that's what you have to do. Okay, this is the first one. Here we go. It's not that bad. I just want you to know. Nobody swears, but we do swear.
Ring out wild bells, and may the scent of evergreen and the shimmer of the stars above us bless our very beings and all beings on this earth.
In the deep darkness of winter, we've joy in surrender and peace in resistance, the power of love once more.
You see, we're going well. We're
From
doing a good job.
child to elder and youth to young adult, from refugee to royalty, from mosque to church, and from banquet hall. No, now can't do it. Nope.
All right, that's the first one. That was, I love Tuli's face at the end. It was the best. Okay, hold on. Moving on to the next one. Hopefully these are in the right order.
Ring out wild bells, and may the scent of evergreen, the shimmer of the stars above us, bless our very beings and all beings on this earth.
In the deep darkness of winter, we've joy in surrender and peace in resistance, the power of love once more.
From child to elder and youth to young adult, from refugee to royalty,
This might be
from
the same
mosque to
one.
church, and from mangers to COVID testing lines. Let the people be woven across this land, a garment of hope this deep winter's night, the eve of Christmas.
Yes, bring boughs of holly, bring gifts of our very being, bring hope beyond dreaming. Nope, we got to do it again because I'm like, wow.
You definitely did Bing. Bing, gifts of our very being. That's really hard to say there too.
Bring.
I have to say, Robin, I'm pretty sure you wrote this. The alliteration is fantastic, but very hard. Bring boughs.
Bring boughs, bring
beyond.
being hope.
Okay.
All right, one more to go. See, Robin, it's not so bad. It's just
No, she's accusing you of editing out the curse words. And I know for a fact there probably were some in there.
no. I don't know why we didn't curse in these. I don't know why. I looked. Okay, hold on. One more. This one's short. That's it. Just imagine like 30 more takes.
Oh,
All
from
right,
youth
thank
to young adult.
I know. The alliteration really is hard. Bring boughs of beacon, be a beacon. So thank you all. I told you this could never be 30 minutes. Top 10, there's too much
I
to
didn't know
talk
how you were
about.
getting to 10 and 30 minutes. It would have been warp speed.
I know it would have, but thank you for hanging in there. And thanks for giving your Thursday night. I guess nothing happens on the 30th. And thanks to everybody who showed up and honestly, these top 10 things could not have happened without the extraordinary members that make Beacon what it is. So just wanted to say to everyone, thank you for making Beacon be what it is. And Jen and Michael, thanks to you. Just to say also, we've got a lot of stuff coming up in 2022. Living with Intention, we got our service, our January 2nd service, the essential and the aspirational. We're going to be doing something outdoors at 12:30 as well. We've got the Choose Love workshop and so much more. So
Yeah.
Reverend Robin is
Yeah,
wait,
you're getting requests and threats. For
bringing
2020.
bountiful bows of blessings with boughs of
Robin is picking it up a notch with the alliteration in 2022. Prepare
I'm
yourself.
telling you,
It's a blitzkrieg of blazing and bold beacon.
people have to give $1 for every B word that Robin's able to put in the chat.
Get us to 5,000 more in no time. Just keep it up, Robin.
So just as a reminder, thanks to everybody. Thanks for all your gifts. And please continue to tell people about the fact that we're trying to get to $25,000 by tomorrow night. Only, I think we have less than 4,000 to go. So we'll be seeing you and have a great New Year's.
Happy New Year's.
Keep smiling.